So hello everyone, my name is Jakub Polaczyk and as the Vice President of New York Arts and Arts Innovation and Artistic Director of Chopin and Friends Festival, I have great honor to welcome today the special guest, the winner of the last year New Vision Composition Competition in the vocal category for the haiku, Tomás PEIRE SERRATE, who is originally from Spain, but spent some time also in New York and currently is in Los Angeles. He graduated composition from Music School Superior de Catalunya, so in Barcelona, because he is originally from Barcelona, but he also studied at the Sibelius Music Academy in Helsinki. And here in New York, graduated with the master's degree from the film scoring from the New York University, and currently is finishing his PhD at the University of California, Los Angeles in composition. So, hello, Tomás. So good to see you. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a
pleasure.
See you again. It's a pleasure. You know, so how are you? How is the weather today, by the way, in Los Angeles?
Today is good. Today it's very sunny and, the weather is generally pretty mild here over the year, so it's good. It's good.
Over the year. Are you locked down? Do you stay generally home, or maybe you go sometimes out?
Well, we take a walk every day for sure, but I have been, well, like many of us, I guess, like we spend many hours at home. So yeah, generally we are at home.
Generally at home. Okay. Yeah. So the first question, Tom, have you been back to the Spain? How was the last half year?
I did, but no, I was planning to go back to Barcelona for some summer vacation. The thing, and if I may adjust a little bit your introduction, I finished actually my PhD last December.
Oh, you finished? I'm so sorry.
I finished. No, that's completely fine. I was just saying this because I finished mid-December. I did my defense, and then I was hesitating whether to go back to Barcelona to have a break or stay here, and I decided to stay because I needed a little bit of time, to relax. So I thought that I would go in summer instead, but that immediately turned to be, well, immediately by March, April was clear that it was going to be very difficult. So I haven't been in Barcelona for more than a year right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Tomás, because last time when we met, it was a year ago here at the College Consulate in New York. I remember you were just finishing, so I wasn't sure about this. So I'm sorry about that.
No, that's totally fine. By then I was, doing the final touches for the dissertation. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. Yes. So congratulations, that's a huge achievement. So now you are a doctor. Thanks. Actually, you are a doctor.
I am.
Yes. So, and also tell me, Tomás, during this time, did you find any inspiration for your compositions in this difficult pandemic time? Have you composed a lot?
Composing different pieces, certainly, but also this lockdown or this time of isolation inspired some ideas to maybe further develop in other works. Part of the interest of my dissertation was in virtual reality and how virtual reality music, of course, and how this virtual space could become some shared environment where both creators and audience could experience some artworks and in particular musical works. But that was last year, so it was a little bit. I was trying to speculate a little bit about this too, to imagine a situation that would, that would be more suitable for this type of experience. I'm not obviously this is something that it's a field that is growing a lot right now, but I was thinking that, well, when in the future this is going to be both technologically but also socially relevant. And turns out that, well, we have been communicating a lot virtually somehow, maybe not in a virtual reality environment, but this type of conversation.
It's like we do now. Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
That's great. But Tomás, you also, are you working, because you did a lot of also film scoring, because you graduate also, right, with the film scoring. So are you working currently on some projects? How is the situation in Los Angeles with the movie industry?
So At the beginning of the year, I did a very small movie, and then I had a few projects lining up, both as a composer and orchestrator, which is something that I also do. But everything, everything was either postponed or canceled, or everything fell down. So for a few months, I had more time to work on concert projects and to think and develop other ideas. Now it's taking off again, I think. And in the last couple of months, I have been working in a few different projects. Yeah, both as a composer and also orchestrating some music too.
But how's the situation with orchestra? Are the orchestras do they have online concerts in Los Angeles, or do they shut down? How is the situation?
I have the feeling that it's a little, in Los Angeles in particular, I know that big orchestras have had to cancel the seasons, and they try to have different, regularly to have activities streamed so that at least audience can keep engaged with the orchestra in different ways, perhaps having performances with reduced group of musicians, or solo performances, or commenting words, or different works. So I guess that like everywhere else, orchestras are trying to find ways to keep, a little bit of activity going on, although, it's obvious that it's very, very complicated.
So, but you like very much orchestra. I remember also a few years ago, don't mind, I remember this, when you had this piece played by the orchestra, it was a reading session here in New York. So, and it looks that you really this is your force, that you can really speak. Do you like orchestras?
Obviously I enjoy it. I go a lot to orchestral concerts, and if I have the opportunity to use it in my music, of course I do. That was the Underwood readings of the American Composers Orchestra, for which I presented a piece called Rausha, and I was fortunate enough to get the Commission Award, the Audience Commission Award, and I am actually currently working on this piece. Yeah,
that's great. So you're actually working on the orchestral piece now, right?
Yes, but it's scheduled for 2022, so it's a lot of time.
Oh, you have a lot of time in 2 years. Okay, so let's go back in memories and come back maybe to the last year festival here in New York, that with the Chopin and Friends Festival, when we presented your work that especially grabbed our attention, the haikus. So tell us about this piece and what inspirations and your memories of the Chopin and Friends Festival.
Well, it was great to go back to New York after, I think that maybe a year and a half or something like this, since the previous time that I visited the city. And it was great to have the opportunity to travel there, and particularly if for that occasion, it's always great to travel to hear your music performed.
It wasn't a premiere. It wasn't a premiere, right? But it was a New York premiere. But
it was New York premiere, but not. The piece had been premiered in Los Angeles in the year 2 years before, or the year before. But it was the let's say the East Coast premiere. It was great. The Four Corners Ensemble did a great job, and I enjoyed the concert very much. That piece, I wrote it actually for a residency of an ensemble here at UCLA when I was actually doing the PhD, and it was a quintet. It was a quintet plus soprano, flute, viola, cello, piano, and soprano. I remember that I wanted to write some vocal music because it had been a while since the previous time, but I think that the reason why I chose the haiku was because I wanted to have few different pieces that I could, work in different ambience and different contrasting resources and techniques, etc., etc. So I thought that at that time, I believe that some haiku, I was reading some of them, or I had them, lingering in my mind. So I decided to resource them. Initially, I wanted to do it in Japanese, but the version that I ended up presenting was in English, a translation in English. So eventually, I need to
Tomás, how did you choose how did you choose the poems? How did you select them?
Well, I read a bunch of them, and it was a little bit. I thought about having them some sort of theme or some elements in common that I could relate a little bit, although not the pieces are played. It should be played sequentially. It's not that they could be, you know, played in different order, and they are very short. So what I wanted to do is to have a theme. Obviously, that is nature, because it's very common in this type of poetry. And I don't know. I went a little bit through. I wanted to connect the natural elements of different moments of the day as well. Different, you know. I when I write music, often I have images of, or I can, you know, I have images of colors or shapes or lights in my head. So I wanted this to be a little bit varied. So
yes, that's right. That's true.
That was a little bit the one of the elements to.
You know, it was very contrasting, and you know, all of those, and they were very expressive and very so actually dense in the information. You know, each of the haiku has such a dense information, going back to the history of music, like Anton Weber ideas of the very short pieces, and maybe also Kurtak. So do you like this music?
Right, exactly. So I thought in those particular pieces, the idea that the poem is very short and very concentrated, and that evokes different sorts of reactions or images. It was a challenge for me, or a source of inspiration to translate into the music with very few elements, very short duration, you know, limited resources, but then trying to be as expressive or evocative or
as possible,
you know, as possible. Like
Yes, you did a great job with that. It was wonderful experience and wonderful performance. And thank you for the also good words, Tomás. But also tell me about your current also live connection with Spain. Do you have a lot of performances in your own country, and do you find also inspirations from Spain in your music?
I mean, in terms of performances, definitely now not.
Now not?
Unfortunately.
Oh, that's so bad to hear.
Yeah, well, I guess that I think that almost nobody is having performances right now.
Right now, yes.
I try always to keep some food there, but it's difficult. It has been difficult over the years. But yeah, I had an ongoing relationship with a chamber orchestra there, with whom we managed to collaborate and premiere some works. And last piece was a year and a half ago, more or less, chamber opera, based
opera.
Chamber opera, in the Liceu of Barcelona, involving also electronics and trying to also playing a little bit with this idea of the real and the virtual, and this is something that I am trying to bring again in maybe next season or the following one. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep some activity there, but it's been complicated in the last year. Yeah, certainly.
Completely understand, right? It's very hard when you're on the two different continents, you know. It's yes, but also, Tomás, tell me, because going back to your bio and your history, so because you studied actually 3 different places. You studied in really south place of Europe. You are from Spain, and you studied in the north, in Helsinki, right? Which is also a very important center for modern music, but completely different. And also you studied in the States. You studied in the 2 big centers in New York and Los Angeles. So what are the differences? And what did you learn from combining those elements? Can you tell briefly about this?
Yeah, well, when I'm talking about composition, because first for a few years I was more focused in both performance and teaching, actually. But then at some point I decided to go back to and study composition. It was something that I had been doing sort of naturally since I was a child, but not very, seriously or methodically, let's say. So going back and study composition in Barcelona was to me a way to organize my ideas and to be exposed to many things that were going on. And Barcelona was very interesting to me because the faculty there and the students have very contrasting approaches. So basically, they all have different backgrounds and different approaches to write music. So you get, a sense of many different tendencies. And that was very enriching, very challenging to me at the same time, but very enriching. And the reason why after 3 years I decided to go to Helsinki was because I found some resonance in Finnish music, particularly in some composers. Some resonance in the sense that I thought that was a path that I wanted to explore a little bit in terms of the sonority and the way that composition was approached. So once there, let's say that Sibelius Academy is a great school as well, but I found somehow more defined path to follow in terms of composition.
Oh, I see.
Then completely different story, the composition approach between Europe and the United States. I went to New York because I had the opportunity to do this master's in film scoring, which, by the way, was also some sort of passion that I had since I was a child, but I got the opportunity to go there thanks to a scholarship. And that was a complete different world to me because first I was more focused in film music, but also part of the faculty that, I kept engaged with the activities of the concert music side at NYU. And those composers are like Julia Wolf, for example, or Michael Gordon, have a very different approach, contrasting approach than the one that I was, experiencing in Europe. Exactly.
I understand.
Exactly.
Right.
Then finally in Los Angeles, I found again a space where it was more up to you, where you wanted to do. It was very, kind of open.
Or open.
Okay. I guess that also I did my PhD for reasons not only just to, learn to compose or learn some techniques, or it was more to have, the time and the space to explore and experiment my own thoughts about it. So I found great help and guidance in many areas as well. Yeah.
But do you like also to do experiments? So do you like to try some experiments?
Well, I don't consider myself an extremely experimental avant-garde composer compared to what I really see in many other composers, many works. But nonetheless, I have my own comfort zones and areas that at some point I always find interesting to approach and to explore. Yeah.
Yes, Thomas, that's very, very, I think it's very valuable and very great that you experience so many different cultures, because it always enriches your music, and you can now do a synthesis. If you go back in the history of music, always, even since Bach, for example, as you know, Bach was trying to gather the tradition, Italian tradition, the French tradition, German, and he was trying to combine, and at the end, he created something completely different. It was between. So that's wonderful because you have approaches for so many cultures from also different part of Europe. I love both of music, of course, of Spain, and I also love your music very much from Finland. But are so different than American music.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very different. Yes, but orchestration also studies and orchestras in Finland. There are especially very rich tradition for writing for orchestras.
Yeah, and not only that, but the attitude, the general attitude towards new music is phenomenal there.
I know.
So that it's part of the culture and what you would expect, and it's not always easy to find this. I think that's
great center.
Maybe.
Great center in Europe, in Finland, definitely. Yes, but Thomas, let's go now also back to this Chopin and Friends Festival. And I want to ask you, as I'm asking, because during this quarantine talks, I have also a question about the Chopin, and I want to ask you about if you find any inspirations in the music of Chopin, and how is Chopin in Spain received? And do also other composers trying to be inspired? I know it's just a piano music, but just thinking, you know, broadly, like about general ideas and about timing. What do you think about this music?
I mean, it's not just piano music, it's almost like the piano music. No? To me, obviously, I mean, there are many composers that we all love and admire through history. Maybe, yeah, it's true that maybe because Chopin focused so much in the piano, that's why we identify it as this. But also myself, being a pianist, I think that the resonance that I could feel, or the emotion that I could feel when listening Chopin as a kid was something very special. So actually, I remember being a little bit frustrated in my early years studying Chopin, because studying piano, because Chopin is difficult. It's, you know, it's not the first thing that you play at the keyboard, so you need to do a bit of training. So I was a little bit, you know, always a little bit anxious to get to this point. And afterward, I think that it was always among the composers that I kept playing, even, you know, even if it was not what I was playing at that moment, you know, like you would play some Bach. So I would incorporate some, I don't know, maybe some preludes or some etudes to my routines in playing when I was a little bit more active in playing piano than I am now. But the sensibility, the beauty of the music, it's something that, you know, it's very, I mean, well, that's why we are still playing it and listening it so, you know, so consistently, yeah.
But I have a question. Do you also consider sometimes analyzing this music just as a, for example, composition lesson, just to take a score of any of the pieces, even short, like preludes or whatever, of Chopin? And do you think that there are a lot of things still that in the new music we can find in this music?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny that you asked this, because recently we were taking a look to one of Chopin's preludes with a student.
Preludes? Which one? If I can remember.
A flat major, this posthumous prelude, actually, this short, very, very short one.
Yeah.
But the reason was because he played this piece, and he was, you know, starting to compose as well. So I think that one way to approach composition, or to approach composition lessons, is by doing analysis of music. But particularly if you are a performer and you have had the experience of playing some works, it's good to delve into them, or to look into them from a different perspective, not just only
of course, yes,
but as to unfold some of the compositional devices, because they might seem very simple, or they might you know, appear very organic in the score, but once you delve into them, you begin to see how many relationships and how many details, how many subtle elements
microstructures, yes.
Yeah.
So you did that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yes, Tomás, because also, you know, Chopin was Polish, but also, of course, he was for a while in Mallorca, which is part of Spain, you know. I was also remember many years ago. And he loved Spain very much, Chopin. But, you know, if we are going now about also Poland and connection, because I remember directly after the competition here in New York, you were going actually to Poland for the composition competition. You got awarded for your string orchestra piece. So can you tell, it was a Krzysztof Penderecki competition for the string orchestra, Arboretum, very good one. Yes, and that was the same month as the New Vision composition competition. It was last year, November. So tell us also about this experience.
Well, that was an extraordinary coincidence, by the way, that I was in New York in this concert at the Polish embassy, and then a week after I was traveling to Poland.
Exactly. That was very funny. The coincidence.
I know. It was great, by the way. I've never visited Poland before, so to have this concentration of Polish events in my life, it was great. So yeah, I went there. It was in Radom.
Yes.
The orchestra was incredible, and Maestro Szymon Morus, who was conducting, was also very, detail-oriented, very invested in the music. It was a great experience. My only regret, if any, is that again, by then I was finishing my PhD dissertation, so I spent, almost all the time that we were not in rehearsals, I spent it on
papers,
in the hotel, writing and reviewing all my notes. But it was, I believe, like 4 or 5 days that I was there. I had the opportunity to visit a little bit around, and I mean, the only thing that I can say is that I was, I left Poland with the, with the intense feeling that I wanted to go back. Also, I was very excited with the, initially with the opportunity to meet with Penderecki. Finally, he made it to the concert because he was not feeling so well.
That's right. And he passed away, unfortunately.
Exactly. But well, besides this, they performed incredibly well, and the piece was well received. Yeah, as you said, they got the third award, the third
That's
prize.
Great. That's great. That's great. Maybe, Tomás, we can listen at the end of this conversation. How long is the piece? How long is the piece of this?
About 9 minutes. About 9 minutes. And
so, when did you compose it, and what is the piece about? What was the idea?
So the piece, I composed it in 2012. Soon after, I finished it in 2012. That was my first year in New York, actually.
8 years ago. 8 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was a commission from an orchestra in Barcelona, actually, well, in Terrassa, a smaller village close by Barcelona. And so they commissioned this piece for the last concert of the season, in which they wanted to, to have a little bit more contemporary repertoire than they usually performed, and also, to engage with some of the composers working at that moment. So I was working in that piece, and I remember that at some point the news from an old aunt passing away came from Barcelona to me in New York. So that was I think that was actually the first time that being far away from my place, I had a situation like this. So it was a little bit, definitely tough, and for different reasons I couldn't attend the funeral. But I wrote.
So that's why collapse. That's why. That's
well,
why.
not necessarily for this, but okay. I'm explaining this because the piece is dedicated to her.
Oh, I see. It's in memory. Okay.
And also the end of the piece it's more agitated. It is more. It has more action through most of the piece, but the last 3 minutes or so change completely since there is a radical change. Then everything becomes very, very spread out, and sonority is very long with a melody that wants to remind her, right? And that was a little piece that I wrote for her to be performed in the funeral. And that I incorporated it at the end of the piece because I felt.
But it's very personal, actually. It's very personal work, right, for you? This one.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you like strings? Do you like writing for strings?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. What
you love? Okay.
I played a little bit the violin when I was a child, not very well and not a lot, but I admire the string instrument for sure. And,
So we'll listen this at the end of our conversation. We can definitely hear this. Is it, you said like if the piece is around 9 minutes, in the last 3 minutes is this meditation kind of.
Yeah.
So it's like a golden ratio, isn't it? A little bit, right? It
exactly.
is.
You're actually right. Yes.
Yes, like in the ratio like Bartok or the other. So then we have this 6 minutes, really very dense. Probably, I don't know. I haven't heard the piece. I just guess.
It is.
Yes.
I mean, it's not incredibly dense, but it's very active. It's
very active. Yeah.
There are different stages on this, and it feels like it's an unexpected ending, but somehow it's leaking into the piece early on. So if you pay attention to it, you begin to hear elements that then they finally appear in full at the end.
So we'll definitely hear is. So, thank you very much, Tomás, for sharing this with us. And, also I want to mention, because I just heard that you also got some prize also in China, also with actually with a vocal music. So last year, vocal music for the haiku, and this year also in China, but for the big forces, because I was with choir, as I remember correctly.
It was big orchestra and choir.
Wonderful.
And a soprano soloist. Actually, the premiere was yesterday.
Was it online or was it in person?
I don't think so. I was hoping to have
streaming
news before we were going to talk that I could, deliver it. And I was not going to say anything because I didn't have more information, and it feels like a little bit strange. But I don't know how the streaming situation from China is right now. But I was really looking forward to listen to the piece, and I haven't yet. So I hope it went well.
So I wish you that soon you will get a great recording, and be very impressed.
I'll share it with you.
Well, thank you very much, Tomás. So thank you very much for all of this great talk, about all of those ideas. And so we wish you all the best in your future career, also in your future projects, a lot of inspirations. I hope that the situation pandemic will finish very soon. I hope, as we all hope, because it's a very difficult time for the artists, but also time for reflection to going back. And again, thank you very much that you spent time with us today. And now we listen this collapse. Now we're gonna listen collapse, okay?
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomás. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. you.